This is the book of Amos, chapter 5, verse 10 in the NLT. How you hate honest judges, how you despise people who tell the truth. Shalom, shalom. Before I begin this lesson, I want to give all praise, honor, and the glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and bishop elders and the rest of the men out there preaching his word in all sincerity and in truth. Shalom to the hopeful elect, 144,000, and the rest of the elect out there. I'm the brother Dama Agabar, out here with another lesson, the Lord willing to edify through the spirit and power of Yahweh by Yahweh Shai. And how it says here, they hate him that rebuketh in the gate. And this devil Esau Edom in this government is getting ready to show you how much they hate people that speak uprightly. And mainly those that expose the corruption, that's exposing the bullshit, that's, exposing the lies, and that are out here using these different social media platforms and their voice to ultimately expose the wicked. And now these devils getting ready to circumvent that with some unrighteous decrees, which I'm about to show you in this article that I came across. And at the end of the day, hey, this is all leading towards biblical prophecy. We should be aware and know that the day is coming to where they are going to address this message. They are going to address the Israelites out there, whether you're from Great Millstone or whether you're from one of these other bug out camps or any other sect of Israelites out there, or even if you're not an Israelite, even if you're just somebody who exposes the truth, if you're a so-called truther, if you're anybody that's out here, using your platform to expose the corruption and the bullshit of this society, hey, this devil has a plan in place to basically be able to get at us and basically to silence us, whether it's through indefinite imprisonment, whether it's through being thrown in a nut house, or eventually, being gathered up and disappeared in one of these, alligator Alcatraz type of situation. Because I was just reading an article, before I started this lesson, how now, they're planning on, building these different detention centers from state to state. So they're building these detention centers and these different, gulags or whatever you want to call it, basically to get rid of a lot of you American citizens out here, mainly, of course, what they would label as dissenters, people who have opinions that goes outside of the mainstream narrative. Now Trump just trying to sign an executive orders to get rid of a lot of the homeless, and basically what they're trying to do is get rid of the what they would call the dregs of society. Whether you're the homeless, whether you're somebody that they just deem to be a nuisance or a problem, you need to be addressed. You need to be evaluated, thrown in prison or worse. Right. I was reading this article. Right. It says this is from Natural News. It says Minority Report. If you think, talk or speak the truth about the government, health or safety, or might be sent to the new mental health gulag. You see, and this is how these devils, these elites are going to find a way to basically silence all of the shit talkers, all of the truthers, those that are rebuking in the gate. Now if you talk shit against the small hats and their agenda, now you're an anti-Sem. If you speak out against the government and Trump, hey, you're a dissenter. If you say anything that, they don't want to be said or want to be exposed, guess what? They're going to have the right pretty soon to get at you, man. All right. And ultimately to silence you, or eventually to lobotomize your ass, or put you in one of these black sites to where you'll never be heard from again. And we know that this devil has to come down with this great wrath in this manner so that he can gain back control of the narrative, man. You see? So let's check this out, man. It says, are you thinking something illegal? Get ready to be jailed for it, Minority Report style. Like I was speaking about my Friday live camp, how they have this, all this AI tools in place, the Palantir, and now they have this other AI tool called Centaur, where it's basically, it's basically able to predict human behavior at a very, very so-called accurate rate, which I don't believe is as accurate as they say. But basically, they're just setting the stage to where They can do minority style policing. If AI has been watching your posts, AI is going to be watching what you watch on TV, the different, political or content that you're consuming on a day-to-day basis. Hey, if it's watching you enough and it figures you've been watching a lot of content that's anti-government, that's, pro-truth, anti-corruption, anti-government, anti-New World Order agenda, is going to allow AI to be able to deem you to be, enemy of the state. It could, send out the message that this person needs to be dealt with or addressed, or that AI, by watching you and what you're doing, is going to predict that you're more than, that you're going to commit a particular crime. And then it'll be able to send out a search warrant, or to, send you to the gulag, so to speak, man. You see, and this is what this devil was ultimately trying to put in place through unrighteous decrees and these different executive orders, to be able to have the power to do this outside of your constitutional rights. So this devil was definitely making the move. And we know ultimately this is a roundabout way so that he can get at the prophets and the men of the Lord. And he's going to deem us crazy. And they always do that. Whenever you watch these movies, you always got the prophet that's out there with the sign saying the world is going to end. This is it. Repent or whatever. They always deem them as looking crazy or homeless or just downright just out of their minds. And they're going to do the same with the prophets and the men of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Oh, these guys saying that UFOs are going to come back, and who you call Jesus Christ is a so-called black man, and he's angry. They believe that they're going to get spiritual power and they're going to be able to fly. These people were out of their fucking minds. They need to be locked up. They need to be evaluated. They need to be lobotomized, and this is ultimately, how they're going to be able to get at the prophets and the men of the Lord, and ultimately try to stop this message. It says, do you say something about the government that was derogatory? Off to the non-free speech gulag for you. Welcome to the police state tyranny we all knew was coming. George Orwell style, nonetheless. The thought police are coming, and you could be declared mentally unfit to walk the streets at any moment. Are you ready? You see? And this is how these devils are going to ultimately be able to, silence all of the critics, and basically to do away with the people that are exposing it. It says, in a chilling reflection of totalitarian regimes past, the U.S. government is increasingly using mental health laws to detain individuals without due process, raising alarms about a new form of political repression. An executive order issued by former President Trump, aimed at addressing homelessness through expanded involuntary civil commitments, has drawn heavy criticism for laying the groundwork for a modern day police state. You see? And this is how this devil operates, And this is why you can't be ignorant to Satan's devices. You have to understand how this devil truly operates, man. He'll pass these mental health laws ultimately to, covertly be able to get at, everybody, pretty much, to be able to use this unrighteous decree to come up against anybody that they deem to be, out of their mind or crazy. You see? It says, where is it? Yeah, it says, aimed at addressing homelessness through expanded involuntary civil commitments, has drawn heavy criticism for laying the groundwork for a modern day police state. Framed as a compassionate response to mental illness and public safety, the police allows for the forced institutionalization of individuals based on vague assessments of mental instability rather than concrete criminal behavior. You see? And this is how the devil operates, man. Remember, he creates mischief through a law, and he put this shit in place. And now he can pretty much deem whoever the hell he wants to deem to be mentally unfit to be on the streets and need to be grabbed up and assessed. You see, with no due process, like I said, against your constitutional rights, and you're going to be grabbed up without having, any due process. They just deemed you crazy. They're going to show you the facts that they deemed to be worthy of why you're being locked up and put away, man. And it's going to be indefinitely. Yeah, some people might go in there and might be able to be re-educated. They might be able to put the screws to particular people that'll cause them to totally just to backtrack and totally stop saying whatever it was that they were saying. And as for us, the prophets of the men of the Lord, to deny and denounce our faith and belief in Yahweh Shem Yahushua. That's going to be the only way they're going to let you out of prison. Of course, you're going to have different tags and wearables, probably even the RFID, the MOTB, and place in you in order to be deemed cured or whatever. So, hey, man, like I said, the sky's the limit is what this devil will be able to do once he get this law passed, man. And it might be laws to where, hey, this person is they can't be reprogrammed. They can't not see or renege on their constant stance on what the truth is. So therefore, hey, we just got to eliminate them. You see, man, that's where this is going. It says mental health as a pretext for political control. The government is increasingly using mental health justifications such as civil commitment laws to detain individuals, especially the homeless and dissenters, without due process, replacing legal standards with subjective psychiatric evaluations. It says pathologizing dissent. Historical and recent examples show how political opposition is being reframed as mental illness. You see? Whistleblowers, veterans, and critics of government policies have been forcibly detained or labeled mentally unfit, echoing Soviet-era tactics of silencing dissenters. Yep, it says surveillance and predictive programming infrastructure, a vast surveillance network, including AI-driven behavior monitoring. Like I told you, that AI tool called Centaur. Look that up. That it's an AI that's being used to predict human behavior. You see, it says including AI-driven behavioral monitoring, biometric tracking, and wearable data. And isn't that what RFK has been talking about as far as the healthcare field? They want everybody to wear these wearables, And what do? They always guise it as, disguise it as, convenience to make everybody healthier. We can pinpoint a certain sickness before it even happens, and we can cure you before it. We can detect cancer 6 months ahead of time, so that by the time we catch it early before it gets to a critical stage of it or whatever. But really, it's for a more nefarious thing, You see, it's to track and to keep tabs on you. It says, and wearable data is being expanded under the guise of public health, enabling preemptive detention based on perceived risks rather than actual crimes. It says the rise of a thought crime regime with red flag laws, vague extremism labels, and executive orders targeting entire categories of people. And you don't think the prophets and the men of the Lord, or those of us calling ourselves Hebrew Israelites, are not going to be in part of these categories that's going to be targeted? They're going to deem anybody that believe they're Hebrew Israelite crazy as cat shit, man. And guess what? They're going to be able to grab us up, to lock us away. It says the state is laying the groundwork for a system where beliefs, fears, or criticism of government can be criminalized as threats to public safety, signaling a dangerous shift towards authoritarianism. You see? So we see what this devil is doing, man. This is Isaiah chapter 29, verse 20. For the terrible one is brought to naught, and the scorner is consumed, and all that watch for iniquity are cut off. 21, that make a man an offender for a word, and lay a snare for him that reproveth in the gate, and turn aside the just for a thing of naught. You see? And these different executive orders and these laws that they're doing, they're all traps and snares to silence the dissenters, to basically to come up and label anybody that they deem to be, moving outside of the status quo. Anybody that believes that the government is corrupt, or the president is a puppet, or believing that a so-called black man named Yahweh Shai is going to crack those clouds with thousands of angels to come back to destroy this world. Anybody that believes that these nuclear missiles are mentioned in the scriptures as the arrows of the arrows and weapons of the Most High's indignation. If you believe that there's no such thing as a virgin birth, all of the things that we stand concretely and have faith in and prophesy out there through all of the holy scriptures, man, hey, it's going to be eventually made to be labeled offenders, enemies of the state, dissenters. Our beliefs are out there. We're crazy as all hell, man. And we need to, and we're not fit enough to be out here walking amongst the civilized folks, so to speak, man. You see, and these devils are going to be able to, to get at us, Yep. Let me read that part again, man. It says the rise of thought crime regime with red flag laws, vague extremism labels, and executive orders targeting entire. And you know they're going to use these different camps out here who has been doing things that are, causing the ministry to be blamed. These camps out there with high power rifles, where they're out there speaking, out there with guns on their hips and putting these stupid, retarded clickbait labels on their videos. All that shit is going to be used to blame the ministry, man. And it's going to allow Esau to be able to, to put these unrighteous decrees on each and every last one of us, man. Read that again. It says, targeting entire categories of people, the state is laying the groundwork for a system where beliefs, fears, or criticism of government can be criminalized as threats to public safety, signaling a dangerous shift towards totalitarianism, man. Yep. It says the new gulag, mental health detentions and criminalization of dissent. It says critics warns that this approach paves the way for government to label dissenters, activists, or even the unhoused as threats, thereby justifying their removal from society. You see? This echoes Soviet-era tactics where psychiatric diagnoses were used to silence political opposition. With no new funding for housing or treatment, the move appears more punitive than rehabilitative, right? Because ultimately, it's not to rehabilitate the majority. Like I said, those who are on, who's going to be labeled with a certain label, man, hey, you're going to be beyond rehabilitation. And the only thing that's going to be left is for you to be taken back into the spirit world. That's going to be the only best option for you. You see? You don't think this shit is real? You don't think this man is crazy enough? Okay. It says weaponizing mental illness to expand state control. The government's increasing use of behavioral data from wearables, AI surveillance, and red flag laws to monitor pre-crime behaviors exacerbates these concerns. And they got all of these things already on the table through this AI, through all of this surveillance. Through everything going digital, you're basically inviting these devils in, like the movie Sinners, this vampire, this damn Nosferatu, Esau. You're inviting him into your everyday life with this technology to be able to use these weaponized mental health, unrighteous decrees to basically to be able to categorize you, man. You see, very, very, very. What's the word I'm looking for? He's very what's the word I'm looking for? Crafty, in the way that he's doing all of this shit, man. It says the consequences are already visible. Whistleblowers and critics such as NSA Russ Tice, NYPD officer Adrian Schoolcraft, and Marine veteran Brandon Robb have all been forcibly detained under questionable psychiatric pretenses. Government programs like Operation Vigilant Eagle and DHS threat assessments now blur the lines between political activism and extremism, casting a wide net over veterans, gun owners, and constitutionalists, and eventually prophets and servants of the Lord, Hebrew Israelites. Even you fucking Christians, or like I said, or anybody else that he wants to label to be an issue, you're going to be labeled. What else? It says the approach replaces legal standards with subjective medical judgments, undermining fundamental constitutional protections such as probable cause, due process, and the presumption of innocence. Once the sin is equated with mental illness, opposition becomes pathologized and punishable not for actions but for beliefs. Historical precedents from Soviet gulags to Cold War era administrative exile shows how psychiatric repression can serve authoritarian ends. Yep. And read this part. This mental health gulag this mental health gulag begins with the homeless, but could soon encompass any critic of government policy. As history has shown, once the machinery of repression is set in motion, it rarely stops with its original targets, of course. The fight against terrorism, drugs, and pandemics all begin with legitimate concerns, but evolved into mechanisms of surveillance and control. And this is going to come down hard upon you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And we already see with that whole Cincinnati brawl, they're already looking to make you so-called Negroes the face of violence in the face of terrorism. What are they gonna start doing? You niggas out there in the streets. A lot of you motherfuckers out there doing those, what's it called? Those, when you're out there on the streets, those street takeovers. Hey, they're gonna start labeling you motherfuckers unfit and crazy. All you Jake out there doing all all these fighting, all this violent behavior. Once they lock you up, you're going to be deemed unfit to be out there. You're going to have some type of mental issues, and the rest of you just everyday ordinary Jakes out here. For instance, we just had all them hyenas going crazy over that goddamn free bundle giveaway. They're going to start labeling all you wild ass hyenas as unfit. You know, you need psychiatric help. They're out of their fucking minds, which them hyenas are crazy. And this is just further, setting the stage for this devil to be able to basically get rid of the majority of you people. And remember, part of his new world order is to reduce humanity from 8 billion to 500 million, man. And what better way for them to be able to get rid of the majority of you useless eaters through this type of legislation, man? You see, he'll be justified in doing it. It says the fight against terrorism, drugs, and pandemics all begin with legitimate concerns, but evolved into mechanisms of surveillance and control. Now a new war looms, war on dissent. If left unchecked, policies like these may criminalize resistance and usher in an era where freedom of thought itself becomes a liability. The cost of inaction could be the erosion of liberty under the silent weight of unconstitutional power. You see, but we ultimately understand that it's all to fulfill prophecy. This is Revelation chapter 2, verse 10. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison. Right. And some of us, might be locked up for this very exact unrighteous decree that they're trying to establish, man. They're going to lock a brother up that's out there on the highways and the byways prophesying. Hey, and they're going to they're going to use this law to slap on you and lock you in prison. Yeah, but this guy's out here with these goddamn garments on, they're out here dressing the part. They're out here saying some very extreme and things that made people uncomfortable. A lot of these things could possibly inspire others to take action and to, do particular things. Hey, this guy's out of his mind, man. We need to take him off the streets, and anybody else that's out there listening to his rhetoric and what he's out here speaking about, It's just, the perfect smoke screen, It says, behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison that ye may be tried. And ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. Because what? Some of us might get locked into this thing, and the only offer Esau is going to offer you is, hey, we'll let you out of here, but you got to put this MOTB into you so that we can know what's going on, so that we could, you know how they're going to pitch it. Here, you're going to put this Neuralink in you, so therefore we can monitor your thinking and your wavelengths and your brain patterns for us to see, to keep a closer eye on you. It's either that or, hey, we're going to have to put your head in this guillotine, and you're going to have to deny Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, your belief and your faith and what you were out there preaching, and you're going to have to, take what we're offering you. It's going to come to a point to where it's either going to be, you're going to try to save your life by, taking what Esau's offering you, or you're going to have to put your head in that guillotine and die for your testimony and your belief in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, man. Hey, or the Lord could, somehow give you spiritual power, or something can happen to where, hey, you can bust out of that joint, man. But the main point is we can see that, hey, the stage is being set for this prophecy to come to pass. It says, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days, be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. See, he that have an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. He that overcometh shall not be hurt of the second death. You see? And this is also going into Revelations 3 and 10, the hour of temptation. Because like I said, hey, they might lock you up, and your only way out of that prison is to take that MOTB and to take whatever other technological offers he's going to be offering you. Like I said, it could be the MOTB, it could be the Neuralink, it could be multiple other wearables and technology that he wants to put in you so that you could be monitored and watched and observed in real time, man. So we just can't be ignorant to none of these things. And also too, man, hey, it might get to the situation to where, hey, your own family members might dime you out as crazy. You might got that crazy ex-baby mama or that girlfriend you broke up with, or family members that you fell out with. When Esau starts offering, money to these people to, hey, if you see something, say something. Or if you know one of these people who are acting, crazy, somebody that needs to be, evaluated or analyzed, that you may know, hey, they might drop a dime on you. They might call the hotline, to get you grabbed up. I told you to get out of that Hebrew stuff. It's a cult. Brother, you crazy. You're losing your mind. You need to get out of that. Hey, they might call up and get you hemmed up, man. This is Matthew 10:34. Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. For I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. Right. So you might have, a daughter that's really into this truth, and she believes, she's watching the videos, try to tell her mother about this, but her mom thinks it's evil, it's a code. I don't believe in that. They're evil, they wicked, and girl, you better get out of that. Hey, she might call on her daughter, for her to get grabbed up and reevaluated and assessed, thinking it's gonna cure her of following the prophets and the men of the Lord, man, and vice versa. So these things are all going to be eventually, taking place, but we just got to be in the right spirit to understand that things like this are going to happen. It says, and her mother-in-law, and a man's foe shall be they of his own household. Hey, and you might find one of your, like I said, a disgruntled ex-wife or a baby mama, or even your disgruntled children probably hate you for being in the truth, because they probably feel like it separated them from their dad. It caused my mom and dad to get a divorce. Since I didn't want to believe it, me and my dad is not as close as we used to be. And I felt like this truth and Yahushua and the Bible and those Hebrew Israelites have destroyed my relationship with my father. So, maybe this would be the way that I can get him out of it. He can get locked up and get, reassessed and programmed. And maybe they'll show him in there that he's crazy and this ain't the truth. You're not, thinking that they're doing something in your best interest, but really they're coming enemies for your sake. So, hey, man, we have to have all these different scenarios and understand that, all these things could possibly be, in our cards, man. But at the end of the day, hey, we have to maintain frame and continue to be unmovable and unshakable in our faith in Yahweh Bashem Yahushai if these things are to come upon us. But as we can see, Salakia, hey, this devil is he's making that move, man. But we know ultimately it's to fulfill prophecy. But we can see, how these things could possibly play out, man. So with that, Lord willing, this is edifying. All praise, honor, glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. All right, until the next one, shalom.